deep darkness slumbers within the heart of an ancient stone. It is a gem born of devotion, but tainted by greed and blasphemy. Many possessors of this obsidian jewel found only madness and tragedy. The Black Orlov diamond carries a heavy curse that drives its owners to throw themselves into the welcoming abyss of death. Legends say the stone first saw the light of the world in 19th century India. It was not a mere trinket for mortals to trade or wear. The rough black diamond served as the focal point of an idol in a sacred shrine near Pondicherry. It was the physical eye of the Hindu god of creation. The deity Brahma watched over his devoted followers through this dark and heavy gem. For generations, the temple priests protected the idol and offered their prayers under the watchful gaze of the black stone. A profound spiritual weight anchored the diamond to the holy site where it was meant to rest for all of eternity. The sanctity of the shrine was shattered by a wandering monk whose soul was corrupted by absolute greed. He crept into the temple during the quietest hour of the night. With trembling fingers and a sacrilegious heart, he pried the dark jewel from the face of the Creator God. The curse awakened at that exact moment. To steal the eye of a deity is to invite an unfathomable cosmic wrath upon oneself. The monk fled the sacred grounds with his stolen prize, but he found no peace. Whispers in the shadows drove him deep into an inescapable paranoia. It is said the monk took his own life shortly after his terrible crime. The cursed diamond vanished into the obscure channels of the global gem trade for several decades. It changed hands in dark alleys and secret auctions, leaving a trail of sorrow in its wake. No one knew its true origin, but every merchant who touched the cold stone felt an unnatural weight pressing against their very soul. In 1932, the stone surfaced in the possession of an American diamond dealer named John William Paris. He brought the dark jewel to the bustling metropolis of New York City, seeking wealthy buyers. Paris was a rational man who built his fortune on cold, hard facts and lucrative transactions. He never believed in ancient curses. Soon after acquiring the gem, Paris began to experience strange phenomena. He suffered from terrible nightmares where shadowy figures circled his bed chanting in a language he could not understand. A suffocating dread followed him through the busy streets of Manhattan. The heavy black stone sat in his vault, but its presence filled his entire mind. The anxiety gnawed at Paris until he became a mere shell of his former self. His business deals faltered, and his friends noticed a deep madness lurking in his eyes. He claimed the diamond was whispering his name in the dead of night, urging him to step into the void. The dealer sought an escape from the torment. On a bleak afternoon, Paris walked into a massive skyscraper located on Fifth Avenue. He rode the elevator to one of the highest floors, with an empty expression on his pale face. The voices of the cursed stone echoed in his ears, promising him peace if he would only let go of his miserable earthly life. Without a word to anyone, Paris climbed onto a ledge and threw himself from the towering building. The sudden impact shattered his body and left the entire city in shock. He was the first documented victim of the modern era to fall prey to the Eye of Brahma. The black stone hungered for more tragic souls. Following the grisly death of the American dealer, the diamond journeyed across the ocean to Europe. The jewel found its way into the hands of Russian nobility, fleeing the aftermath of the revolution. Princess Leonila Galitzine-Baryatinsky acquired the cursed object. She saw only an exquisite rarity and completely ignored the whispers of the tragic past. Princess Leonila lived a comfortable life in exile, but the arrival of the diamond brought a sudden shift in her fortune. A heavy shroud of melancholy descended over her grand estate. The shadows in the corners of her rooms seemed to lengthen and crawl toward her whenever the sun went down. The curse was taking root again. She complained to her closest confidants about an invisible pressure resting heavily upon her chest. Sleep eluded her completely. Whenever she closed her eyes, she saw the angry face of an ancient deity staring back from the darkness. The dark gem sat upon her dressing table, radiating an intense cold that chilled her to the bone. The princess could not bear the psychological torture that accompanied the jewel. The relentless sorrow drowned out every happy memory she had ever known. In 1947, Leonila decided she could no longer endure the invisible torment. She chose a high precipice and leapt to her doom, joining the tragic lineage of the Black Diamond. The curse did not stop with Leonila. Only months later, the gem came into the possession of another exiled Russian aristocrat named Princess Nadia Vigen Orlov. It is from her that the diamond eventually derived its infamous modern name. Nadia was captivated by the unique dark luster of the stone, despite the recent tragedy of her peer. Princess Nadia was a woman of great beauty and immense inner strength. She believed she could tame the dark energy of the gem through sheer willpower. She had a custom necklace forged to hold the massive black diamond and wore it proudly to high society gatherings. The stone gleamed against her skin like a portal to hell. The illusion of control quickly shattered. Nadia soon found herself staring out of tall windows for hours, completely lost in a trance. She told her servants that the ground was calling to her with a sweet and irresistible voice. The Eye of Brahma demanded another sacrifice, and it was slowly unraveling her strong and vibrant mind. The supernatural presence within the stone grew bolder. Objects in Nadia's private chambers would move on their own accord. Cold drafts swept through the house, even when all the windows were shut and sealed. princess stopped attending social events and locked herself away with the terrible gem that was quietly draining her will to live. A deep depression consumed Nadia entirely. The once vibrant noblewoman became a gaunt specter, haunting her own lavish home. On a cold morning in 1947, she ascended to the roof of a tall building in central Rome. The same dark compulsion that destroyed Paris and Leonilla now guided her trembling and exhausted frail legs. Nadia cast herself off the roof and perished on the unforgiving cobblestones below. The world of high jewelry was utterly terrified by the string of high-profile suicides linked to the exact same stone. The Black Orlov had claimed 2 royal lives in a single year. No rational explanation could justify the bizarre and violent repeating pattern. The gem became notorious across the globe as the death diamond. Private collectors refused to purchase the stone out of a deep-seated fear of the curse. The jewel sat in a heavily guarded safe, gathering dust and radiating an unseen malice. It waited patiently in the dark for a new owner to corrupt and destroy completely. In the 1950s, an American jeweler named Charles Francis Winson decided to challenge the supernatural legend. He purchased the Black Orlov for an exorbitant sum, hoping to profit from its dark notoriety. Winson acknowledged the cursed history, but believed he could break the deadly cycle by altering the physical form of the ancient deity Eye. Winson hired a master gem cutter to sever the stone into 3 separate pieces. The process was fraught with anxiety, as the craftsmen feared the wrath of Brahma. They worked in complete silence, carefully cleaving the massive black diamond. Winson hoped that cutting the stone would fracture the evil spirit bound within its dark crystalline structure. The largest of the resulting gems retained the name of the Black Orlov. It was recut into a cushion shape, weighing 67 carats. The new form was spectacular, but the dark essence of the stone remained entirely intact. The jewelers who handled the freshly cut pieces reported feeling an intense coldness radiating from the dark facets. Winson mounted the recut Black Orlov into a spectacular diamond and platinum necklace. He surrounded the cursed dark gem with over 100 brilliant white diamonds. The contrast was absolutely stunning. The bright, sparkling perimeter seemed to imprison the dark void of the central stone. But the aura of tragedy still lingered heavily around the extravagant piece. The necklace was exhibited around the world to massive crowds of curious onlookers. People lined up for hours just to catch a glimpse of the jewel that drove 3 people to throw themselves to their deaths. Winson capitalized on the macabre history, using the curse as a powerful marketing tool to elevate the value of the stone. Despite his bravado, Winson never wore the stone and forbade his family from bringing it into their personal home. He kept the necklace locked securely in a bank vault. Whenever it was not on public display, the jeweler secretly harbored a profound fear that the ancient deity was merely resting before demanding another tragic human sacrifice. Several decades passed without another fatal incident linked to the Black Orlov. Skeptics argued that the curse was finally broken by the physical cutting of the diamond. Others claimed that the bright white diamonds surrounding the dark center acted as a protective barrier, holding back the malevolent energy. The true nature of the stone remained a mystery. The necklace eventually passed into the hands of a prominent diamond dealer named Dennis Pedimses in 2004. He was fully aware of the dark legacy, but felt completely confident in his ability to resist the curse. Pedimses displayed the necklace, proudly declaring that the evil energy had dissipated over the long passage of quiet time. Pedimses even went so far as to invite an actress to wear the necklace at the Academy Awards. He wanted to prove to the world that the Black Orlov was entirely safe. The actress wore the dark jewel upon the red carpet and returned it safely at the end of the evening. It seemed the curse slept. However, those sensitive to the paranormal claim the spirit of the eye never truly forgets the desecration of its temple. The absence of recent deaths does not mean the ancient god has forgiven the theft. A heavy spiritual pressure is still deeply felt by anyone who stares too long into the dark depths of the massive diamond. People who view the stone in modern exhibitions often report a sudden drop in temperature. Some feel an inexplicable wave of profound sadness wash over them when they stand near the display case. The dark gem seems to absorb the surrounding light, reflecting only a cold and empty void that beckons the viewer to lean closer in. It is whispered that the diamond still visits its owners in their dreams. The visions no longer demand immediate death, but rather seed a slow, creeping despair that infects the mind. The jewel is a parasite that feeds on human joy, replacing it with an endless dark void. The curse has merely evolved into a quieter torment. What truly happened to the wandering monk who first stole the stone remains lost to history. Some esoteric texts suggest his soul was trapped inside the very diamond he coveted. His eternal suffering provides the dark energy that curses all future owners. The gem is a physical prison for a greedy spirit doomed to endless absolute agony. The temple near Pondicherry still stands, but the central shrine remains empty. The local priests never replaced the stolen eye of their deity. They believe the original stone must be returned to the statue to restore cosmic balance. Until the Black Orlov makes its journey back to India, the wrath of Brahma will continue to secretly fester. The psychological horror of the diamond lies in its specific method of destruction. It does not kill its victims directly through disease or sudden accidents. It twists their perception of reality until death becomes the only logical escape. The stone convinces the mind that stepping into the empty air is a beautiful release from a crushing reality. The tragic fall of John William Paris remains one of the most chilling cases of sudden mental collapse. He was at the peak of his career, with a loving family and immense wealth. The suddenness of his suicide baffles historians to this day. Only the dark gem in his pocket could explain the rapid descent into absolute madness. Princess Nadia and Princess Leonilla were strong women who survived the collapse of an empire. They escaped revolution and built new lives from the ashes of their former world. It is incredibly tragic that an ancient piece of compressed carbon accomplished what a bloody civil war could not. The stone shattered their iron wills with silent whispers. The recutting of the diamond in the 1950s may have been a terrible mistake. Occultists argue that shattering a cursed object does not destroy the attached entity. Instead, it multiplies the avenues through which the evil can operate. The two smaller fragments of the original eye are currently lost somewhere in the sprawling global diamond market. Where are the missing pieces of the Eye of Brahma today? It is entirely possible they sit in a private collection, causing silent misery to an unknowing family. The dark influence of the smaller stones would be harder to trace, but equally devastating. The fragmented curse could be claiming anonymous lives in quiet corners of the world. The main stone continues to change hands among elite collectors who view the morbid history as a mark of prestige. They treat the cursed object as a thrilling conversation piece. This arrogance is precisely what the dark spirit within the gem desires. The entity waits for a moment of weakness to strike at the heart of the proud. You cannot own a piece of a god without paying a terrible spiritual price. The Black Orlov is a physical manifestation of divine retribution, wrapped in a shell of breathtaking beauty. It serves as a grim reminder that some ancient artifacts are meant to be left completely undisturbed in their sacred places of quiet, holy worship. The hypnotic power of the diamond is undeniable. When you look into the heart of a clear white diamond, you see light and rainbows. When you gaze into the depths of the Black Orlov, you see only an endless pitch black tunnel. It is a mirror that reflects the darkest hidden fears of the human subconscious mind. Imagine holding the heavy dark stone in your open palm. You would immediately feel the icy chill spreading up your arm and into your chest. The voices would start as a soft murmur, resembling the sound of a distant ocean. Slowly, the whispers would form words urging you to find the highest window in the tall building. You would try to put the stone down, but your fingers would refuse to open. The gem would become a part of you, anchoring your soul to its ancient misery. The urge to fall would become overwhelmingly sweet. You would walk to the ledge, entirely convinced that you could spread your arms and fly into the dark night. This is the terrifying reality faced by the victims of the Eye of Brahma. They did not want to die. They were manipulated by a malevolent force that hijacked their survival instincts. The diamond turned their own minds into a lethal weapon. It is a perfect predator that leaves absolutely no physical evidence of its terrible supernatural crimes. The current owner of the necklace keeps a very low profile. The stone is rarely seen in public anymore. Perhaps the ancient deity is finally satisfied. Or perhaps the curse is merely gathering strength for a spectacular return. The silence surrounding the diamond is far more terrifying than the grand public exhibitions of the distant past decades. Legends of cursed gems often fade into obscurity, but the Black Orlov endures in our collective nightmare. It challenges our modern understanding of the world. We want to believe that stones are just minerals and curses are just superstitions. Yet the broken bodies on the city pavements tell a vastly different and infinitely more terrifying historical story. The Eye of Brahma watches and waits in the darkness of a secure steel vault. It remembers the sacred temple and the greedy hands of the thief. The black diamond is a sleeping curse that can never truly be broken. It will always hunger for the souls of the living, waiting for the next tragedy to unfold.